Hey everybody, welcome to the Goddamn Mountain Goat video series. My name is Kevin Jones. I am your host slash amigo slash compadre and friend. And I guess at this point, archery instructor, maybe? This is the there's a third part to the 10-part introductory series of how to become a bow hunter. You are here because maybe you've made it through the first two, maybe this is your first, if so, welcome. What I'm trying to aim to do here is give you a new and interested bow hunter a kind of a taste of the gear that bow hunters use, what you might need to do to become proficient and set up and successful to be able to start harvesting wild game and bringing it home to your family or maybe to yourself because it is tasty. So on this episode, we're going to talk about bowsights. Bowsights are I don't even know what you would really call it. It's the piece of equipment that you put on your bow so that way you can launch your arrow and hit what it is that you're trying to shoot at. There are a couple different versions of a bow sight that you can actually get. Not to bore you, but you can get a 5-pin, a 7-pin, a 3-pin, a 3-pin slider, a single pin slider, all sorts of things in between. Now what that means you will soon know. You will soon understand what it is the heck that I'm talking about. So for this, I guess, introductory series, we're going to talk about what bow sight you should get as a newcomer to the sport. What I have here is I have two versions of bow sights. Both of them are similar but different. So for you as a new and upcoming bow hunter, this is what a bow sight looks like. I'll kind of bring it up here and I'll try to get out of the way a little bit. Give you the 360 and the up and down here. So that's what it looks like. What you'll notice is on here you have 5 pins. So thus this is a 5-pin bow sight. And to help me demonstrate clearly what it is that we're going to be talking about, I have a extremely sophisticated tool to use, and it is a nail. So this will work, I hope. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about briefly what this is and what all the parts to this are. So when you get your bow set up and when you attach your sight, you attach it right here. You just connect it to your bow. There'll be a follow-up episode about how to put all this gear, all this equipment onto your bow, because that's kind of its own little episode where we'll talk about how to mount everything, what to do. But for this introductory series, we're just going to be talking about the different parts. So for this, what you do is once this thing's set up on your bow, this is exactly what it'll look like. It'll look like this when you look at it. You'll notice that these are all pretty bright, right? So you got all these things, and the reason they're all bright, and they typically stay bright, because what you have on your bow sight is, see all these little rings? These are all like fiber optics, and what they do is when you're carrying your bow around, it's basically collecting light, and it's running all the light right here to these tips. So even if you're in a dark wooded area, what you're going to find is that these are always bright. So that's also important because you need to be able to see what pin it is that you need to select for your shot. So really briefly, with this 5-pin sight, new and upcoming bow hunter that you will likely, I recommend you get, is a 5-pin. This is the first pin is at the very top. The very top pin is the pin that you will select when you want to shoot something at 20 yards. Right? So 20 yards. What you do is you get what's called a rangefinder, which will be a follow-up episode. What you do is you see something in the woods, right? This big buck or elk, whatever it is that you're hunting, and you said, wow, that's what I'm here after. I'm going to get my bow ready. And you get your arrows, and you say, okay, with my rangefinder, and you click a little button, this little laser beam goes out and bounces back, and it tells you that deer is standing at 20 yards, or that elk is standing at 20 yards. You say, okay, 20 yards, got it. In the bow hunting world, 20 yards is pretty close. So what you do is then, once you get everything ready, and you draw back your bow, this right here is your 20-yard pin. So that is the pin that you will select, and you will put this pin right on your target. So this is your 20-yard pin, right here's the top, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay? So 20 is at the top. Just remember that. 20 is at the top. 20 top. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay? So 60 is pretty far for a first-time bow hunter. I wouldn't really necessarily recommend you start taking 60-yard shots. Maybe during practice to kind of give you familiarization of how powerful these weapons really are. But I would try to probably get to use maybe your 20, 30, 40 yard pin as a newbie to the sport, I guess. And then this right here is your level, right? So once you get set up, you pull back your bow and you set your 20-yard pin on it. You're very top for 20. 20's top. You set your 20-yard pin on that big old buck. You want to move this. It's just like a level for anything else you've ever used. You want to get that right in the middle. Hopefully you can see that there. So you want to get that right in the middle. What that means is that your bow is perfectly balanced. So that means there's not a whole lot that can affect your shot. If you have your 20-yard pin right on your big old buck and your sight's level, you're ready to fire. And what you're going to do is after you practice a lot, and you know that every time you launch that arrow at 20 yards, you're going to hit exactly where you're shooting, which you will because that's how these weapons are designed. You're going to be hitting every time at 20 yards. So again, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then level out. Okay? So this is, like I said at the beginning, this is a 5-pin bow sight. I'm going to show you one more option. Another option is what's called a 7-pin, right? So this is a different version of it's essentially the same type of sight, just 2 more pins. So this is a sight that I just got that I'm going to be putting on my bow this year. This is an IQ bow sight, and it does a lot more than just what this bow would, or what this bow sight would do. And there'll be a whole other part about that. But anyways, so on this one, it's not rocket science. Top is 20, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And it still has a level there at the bottom. So it's essentially the same thing. This one, as you can see up here at the top, there's the cables or the fiber optics that circle around to collect that light, and then take and illuminate these. So 20's top all the way down. Essentially the same thing. What you should do, like I said, is find a 5-pin sight. Again, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 is what you should have set. Like I said, there's a 7-pin. After you range your target, you place a corresponding pin on that target. If it's at 20 yards, you put the 20-yard pin. If it's at 30 yards, you put the 30. 40 is 40, so on and so forth. If it's at 35, what you can do is you can hold your 30-yard pin a little bit high, and it's called split the pins. So, taking back over here to let me show you this one. So right here, if you see something at 25 yards, you can hold your 20 a little bit high on the target, or you can hold your 30. But basically, you want to ideally be maybe right around here for a 25-yard shot. And then the same thing goes with any other distance. It's called splitting the pins. Levels are common, like I said. So for prices on these things, as with anything else in the bow hunting world or our lives, there's whole sorts of different versions and things that do there's one site that does something different than another. You can kind of go with your preference, go with ratings. You can go on to an online store and look at ratings, maybe Amazon or Cabela's or Bass Pro, Gander Mountain. Then you can just go to the archery section and then hit sights, because these are all bow sights, and do some homework as usual, as if you don't have enough already. And you can determine what bow sight you want, and you can go with user feedback, which is always a good indicator. And kind of go from there. Find one that fits your price range. The average price for these bow sights are, $50 and up. So $50 would be, one of the lower ends. So to give you an example, so this 5-pin that I showed you, it's a Copper John, and I got it for $50 on Cabela's. And then this one, the IQ bow sight, I think this one goes for about $160. The difference, though, is the quality of the gear that you get. necessarily right when you start out. If you're still trying to determine if you even want to do this bow hunting thing long term, you don't have to get the top-notch, high-quality stuff, like the IQ or something like that, because the difference is you can see is that this is all metal. This one's all plastic, so it makes it significantly easier to break. If you tend to be really hard on things, don't go for a plastic model. Get something that if you are hiking up a hillside and really wanting to put a stalk on a deer, but you have to cross the hillside quickly to get in a position. If you slip and fall on your bow, and you might crack your plastic sight, and you're in the middle of nowhere. That's not a good thing. But yeah, $50 and up. Find something that you're comfortable with. Find something that has good reviews, and you will be hunting in no time. Hopefully that clears up a little bit about bow sights. I think I kind of gave you a brief overview of what it is, and I think you're going to be ready to hunt here pretty soon. You just got to watch a couple of these more videos. There's more stuff to be seen, more experiences, and actually you're in for a whole hunting career of really cool, unique experiences. And this is just the start of it. So hopefully you guys are liking what you're seeing. Hit the subscribe button if you would be so kind. And the next video, we are going to be talking about another important part of this. I'm not quite sure which one the next one's going to be. I'm kind of split between two. This one, bowsights, you can't go bow hunting if you can't shoot at something. If you can't shoot at it accurately, you shouldn't even take the shot. So that's it for now. Again, my name is Kevin Jones. This is the Goddamn Mountain Goat video series here on YouTube. Thank you again, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.